This is Chris Enriquez from Spotlights and Light Tower, and you're listening to the New Scene Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the New Scene. I am your host, Keith, and we're back. We are back with another brand new show. It's great to be here, and we've got a fantastic guest this week, Isa Holliday of Slow Crush. One of my favorite new bands. I've really gotten into all of their releases lately, and they've got a lot going on right now. They put out a great album last year, Hush. Check it out. The whole discography is flawless from the debut EP all the way up to Hush. They've got US tour dates starting, and they're from Belgium. They're not over here all the time, so make sure you go check them out if you haven't seen them. Those US tour dates are leading up to Furnace Fest. I will be there. I'm very excited to see the band. And they've got select dates coming in October overseas in Europe with Deaf Heaven. And we cover all of that. We talk about the history of the band. We talk about other random stuff. It's all coming up momentarily, so strap in. You're going to love it. Before we get into that, let's get some business out of the way. Support me, the New Scene. I need 2 more Apple Podcast reviews. 2 more. We're in the home stretch here, people. I just need 2 Apple Podcast reviews. If you have not submitted a 5-star review, open up your Apple Podcast application, search the New Scene, scroll down a bit, hit the 5-star button. Boom. Done. And if you leave a nice review, I'll read it on the air, like I'm going to do right now. We've got a couple new reviews here. All right. New 5-star review from Ash. 5 stars. Awesome. This show rules. Keith is amazing. Interviews are so interesting that I cannot stop listening. Ash, you are awesome, and thank you so much. And we've got another new review from Orion Guide. 5 stars. My new favorite show. This show delivers incredible content week after week. Love the positivity and genuine kindness of host Keith. Some of my favorite artists have appeared as guests, and it feels like I'm hanging out with them. Always look forward to new episodes every Monday morning. Get into it. Mike, thank you. I know who that is. That's Mike. Mike Shaw, the one, the only. Thank you for the reviews. Thank you, everybody, for your support. Make sure you head over to Death Wish Inc. and buy a shirt. Search the New Scene. The shirts pop right up. Go into my social media bios. All the links are there in the link tree. New Scene Pod on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Follow me on Twitch. I do live streams a little more often now. Turn on notifications so you see when I go live. There's plenty of ways to support the New Scene, and I thank you everybody who is doing so. Also, don't forget to support Iodine Recordings. The Darling Fires Distortions is out now, and it's one of my music recommendations for this week. It's so good. It's just a great record. Really happy for Jolie and the band. Awesome musicians, awesome people, awesome record. Pick up your copy and catch them at Furnace Fest. They'll be playing the first day of Furnace Fest, Friday at noon. I'll be there, and I hope to see you there. Also, Nathan Gray and the Iron Roses. Rebel Songs US pressing is out now. Pick it up. Great album. Great music. For more updates, go to Iodine Recordings on Instagram or iodinerecords.com. So let's talk about some more new music, huh? There's a lot of great stuff out there, but this week I am going to recommend to you the new single from Soft Kill. They've got a new single out, Magic Garden. This is from their upcoming 6th record, Canary Yellow, which drops October 31st. This band can do no wrong, honestly. Honestly, the single is great. I can't wait to hear the record. They've got a lot of great music. I love all of it. Great band. And Tobias was on the show recently. Tobias Gray from Soft Kill. Check it out if you have not heard that episode. That is a personally recommended episode by me. All right. So check back in with me in segment 3. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of updates. I'm gearing up for Furnace Fest. That's happening soon. Nintendo Direct happened recently. I'll talk about that. Call of Duty Next happened recently. I'll talk about that and some other random stuff going on. But right now, We are going to speak to Isa Holliday of Slow Crush. Enjoy. All right, we are here now with Isa Holliday. Isa, welcome to the show.
Hi, Keith. Thanks for having me.
Yes, it's wonderful to have you here. Isa, you and Slow Crush have a lot going on. You just put out another great LP last year. You've got some US dates coming up. You've got the gig at Furnace Fest coming up. Very excited to see that. You've got dates with Deaf Heaven in Europe coming up, and we're going to cover all of that.
All right.
But first, Isa, let me ask you, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, thank you. It's Sunday, so everything's a bit slow, but that's all good.
That's what Sundays are for, right?
Exactly.
I want Sunday to be reserved for me to just sit inside and work on all of the things I need to work on.
Yep. And try not to think about the existential dread of Monday.
Does that happen to you too?
I think, yeah. Like the closer you get to nighttime, it's like, oh crap, all of that stuff has to get done tomorrow. But yeah, we're living in the moment, so we're not going to think about that right now.
Not at all. And you know what? It's only 2 p.m. here, so I'm still in like the sweet spot. It's 8 p.m. where you are, so you're starting to get into the dread section, right?
Yeah. It's all right. It's okay though. I'll hold it off for another couple of hours.
I figured out a workaround because Isa, this happens to me too on Sundays. 6 to 7 is a sweet spot. I eat dinner, I see some friends, I feel a bit of a high, and then I start to panic. But I just started to accept the fact that I'm going to feel uncomfortable. I'm not going to be able to sleep well because I'm thinking about all the stuff I have to do tomorrow, and just roll with it. And that seems to have helped.
Yeah. That's exactly how I would like to try and do that. Yeah, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I think, yeah, that's just the fact. You have to kind of let it go, and there's no point in worrying about something that may not even happen. So, yeah.
The worst part is feeling so uncomfortable that I don't want to do any of the things I normally do. Like, it's like, watch YouTube. No, I don't want to. Watch a movie. No, I don't want to. Play a game. No, I don't want to. So I'll just kind of lay there in bed staring at the ceiling.
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's all about like trying to sort of put together some kind of routine to make you feel comfortable and make you feel sleepy, and just go to bed and not think about the next day.
It's hard, but we can do it if we try.
We can. I believe that.
Exactly. So what do you have going on this week? I imagine there's a lot of preparation with Slow Crush. You've got US dates coming up. You've got a tour in Europe coming up. What's going on?
We're actually just chilling out for a bit. So I think it's the following week that we're going to do another sort of PA rehearsal together with our sound guy, to get everything sort of ready for the US, because of course it's a slightly different setup, just because we've got to bring all of our crap over. And with the state of air travel as it is at the moment, we're just like trying to cram as much as we can into our carry-on as possible, as humanly possible. I think I may be wearing cables around my around my body, just to make sure that nothing gets lost, because we've just been seeing so many horror stories of bands losing all of their gear and airlines not even responding. So yeah, I'm going to touch wood now, like every single piece of wood in my house, to make sure that that's not going to happen to us. But yeah, so we're sort of cutting back to the essentials. That being said, we are not going to cut back on our show at all. We are going to give it the best that we can, but just with a more condensed setup. So yeah, we've got some new toys that are smaller, and yeah, in about a week and a bit's time, we're going to test them all out, make sure that everything is flight ready, and yeah, make sure that we can bring the whole Slow Crush experience over to the US, albeit in a more compact form.
So what kind of changes do you have to make? Different amps, different pedals? What adjustments do you make?
Right, yeah, exactly that. Different amps. So, I mean, over the years of Slow Crush, we have gone through so many different different combinations of tools. We started off with like the big monsters of cabinets and amps and everything like that. We've gone to solid states, and now we've got more compact amps. So myself, my current setup is just a dark glass pedal, which is also a tuner. So it's the oh, and I've forgotten the name. Hang on, I have the box here. But it doesn't have the name in it. But I will remember it, like when we least expect it. But anyway, it's a dark glass pedal that is also a tuner, so I only have to carry one pedal around with me, and it's very new, which is why I've forgotten the name. And also the dark glass microtubes amp. So I can pretty much put that just in my backpack or in a bum bag, even if it's big enough, and carry that on the plane. Yeah, that's all I really need, that and my bass.
That's perfect, because the thing I like least about being in a band is carrying around all the equipment.
Exactly. And you get older. If you've played as many shows as we have this year, you start to feel those aches and pains in muscles that you never even thought you had. But it's all part of the fun, right? So I think we've learned so much just from playing so many shows. And yeah, it's all about efficiencies.
The more time that goes by, the more efficient we get. It just happens naturally, or it should.
Yeah.
How long has the band been around? What year did you get started?
I think it was 2016 that we had our first release. So it was the Ease EP. Just like a couple of tracks that were actually recorded in my living room. And I went into the recording just thinking, oh, this is a demo, so we'll roll with it. But then like we sent it around to a couple of friends, and somehow they sent it on to the promoter of Roadburn, and he booked us as our third ever gig. So we played like the amazing Roadburn Festival, 3 gigs in, which was pretty amazing. We had a great time. And then from there, it's just sort of, it just rolled into recording Aurora. And then when that was released, it got, it took off. We didn't expect it to have the success that it did, but it's all very, very much appreciated. So we still get a lot of messages from people saying that our music has really helped them through tough times, from all of our releases. So it's been a wild trip.
That's the best feeling, isn't it? I've had that happen to me a couple times where someone said that something I created helped them in some way, and it just blows my mind to think that that's possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's just something that, music is something that's can be very, very personal. And it is fantastic to hear that people can sort of go on this journey with you and make it their own journey. So like when we go into writing songs, or recording songs, we might have a completely different idea of what the music means to us. And then we hear all of these stories from everybody, from people who have listened to our songs, and they can find something that they can relate. And it is just very touching to be able to make that connection with people you've never met, who have gone on a completely different sort of path of life, but still, music is the thread that binds us all together.
It really is. I agree with that. Were you freaking out your third gig being Roadburn Festival? I would have been.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that was the third gig that I'd ever sung at. So, yeah.
You're kidding me.
Yep, absolutely.
So Slow Crush, had you been in bands before Slow Crush?
I had. Actually, me and the boys, we've all been playing in bands together in various formats, different combinations for years. The guys went to school together, And so we've all been playing music together for a long time. But I'd always just been the bass player that was trying as best as possible to hide behind the big bass cab. So yeah, with Roadburn being the third show, I'd ever had to sort of stand in the middle and kind of expose myself in that way. It was pretty freaky. Yeah.
How big is the crowd there? Is it massive?
It's the whole town that it's kind of the European equivalent of South by Southwest a little, but more alternative. So yeah, the whole town is just like sprawling with people, and all of the bars are open and just venues. Everything becomes a venue. So it's a really great atmosphere. Everyone, it is like the South by Southwest for music lovers. People, I know I have friends who like as soon as Roadburn is done that year, they will buy tickets immediately for the next year, not knowing who's going to show up. So it is just like an experience. But other than like some festivals like Glastonbury or big ones here in Belgium or anywhere else in the world, you do really get the feeling that everybody there is 100% sort of listening to the music and really enjoying themselves.
I love that. Yeah. How did you said before Slow Crush, you were always just a bass player. How did you end up fronting and singing for Slow Crush?
I think I guess it was kind of by accident, in the sense that it's hard to find people that you know well enough to make music with, and it's hard to find like people who you know that you can work well with. So before Slow Crush, Yella and I, we were playing in another band, a more doomy band, and we sort of decided to try to make it a little bit different. We wanted to kind of go down a slightly different path, and Yella just said, "How about if you try singing?" So my voice, as we were like testing the mics earlier and you saying that it was quite low, my voice is quite quiet. So like metal and doom doesn't really suit my timbre. So yeah, the doom project sort of fizzled out, but we still wanted to play music. And Yella had wanted to play something more 90s inspired for a long time, but as mentioned earlier, it's hard to find people with the same sort of interests or the same musical ideas. So we were just chatting with a couple of other friends, and they were like, "Oh yeah, I've wanted to play something more 90s indie for a long time too." And this being, us all coming out of a sort of hardcore punk background or more metal, like heavier scene. So that's how it all really started, with the accident with me not being able to scream or get my voice over really, really heavy metal guitars.
Did you try?
I did try, yeah. I tried and failed very, very badly. But luckily there's nothing recorded.
At what point do you say, like, I just can't do this? Because sometimes people will, I don't know, they'll try for weeks or months and then they're like, okay, I got it. But at what point were you like, nah, this isn't going to work? How did you know?
Just when our monitors wouldn't get any volume out. So yeah, and obviously, like, you can only scream so hard without ripping apart your vocal cords if you're not trained to do so. So yeah, the softer singing does lend better to my vocal muscles.
Yeah, I think my favorite genre right now is former hardcore metal kids playing 90s influenced jams, which your band is, and there's so many great bands doing it right now. Slow Crush, Holy Fawn, Psalm, the list goes on and on. It's great music. I love it. What are some of your influences that went into Slow Crush?
That's always a hard question to answer, just because there are no direct influences. It is really sort of a melting pot of everything that we've ever listened to in our lives.
Yeah.
And it's just that whole sort of 90s vibe, and I know that is really broad, but I think obviously like Smashing Pumpkins have taught us a lot about effect pedals. We've sort of made our own effect pedal, the Glow Fuzz, which is inspired by Billy Corgan's Screddy Mayo pedal. And just sort of growing up listening to that kind of music, that is something that is definitely sort of alive and kicking in Slow Crush material. But then on the other hand, we have the darker side that is also visibly is the wrong word because we're talking about music, but there's the darker side that also pops up in the music that we play, and the doomier side and gloomier side, and it is really just a yin yang balance between the light and dark of moods that everybody feels, that comes across in our music, and that is also like musically a balance of everything that we've ever listened to.
That makes sense. I had this same exact conversation at my band practice yesterday. Like, we went through the bands that everyone likes, and we're like, we just sound like all of that together. And I'm like, okay, makes sense.
Yeah, and I think that's just the best way to evolve organically, and make your sound something that does like make perfect sense with all of the musicians that play in that band. So yeah.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense. I try to focus more now on taking those influences and making something new with it, rather than just replicating the bands that I love and trying to sound like them as much as possible, which I did when I was younger. I guess a lot of people do.
Yeah, and that is a great way to sort of learn your instrument. I mean, I think everyone sort of grows up playing covers, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when it comes to sort of composing, I think it doesn't. It has to be something that really comes from your heart. So there is no better way than to just mix everything that you're passionate about.
Absolutely. When you started singing in Slow Crush, how did you know it worked? How did you feel about it in the beginning?
So coming back to learning your instrument, vocals are also an instrument, and how did I know it worked for the style that I sing in Slow Crush? I copied a lot from Pity Sex, so I would listen to a lot of Pity Sex and just sort of sing along in the car on the way to work or wherever I could, and that is what that style of singing just felt natural for my voice. So that's how I knew that was the best way that I could add my voice to the Slow Crush music. So inspiration wise for the vocals, I did have to sort of learn from other singers in that style. So it was a combination of Brittany from Pity Sex, Oyumi from Jaguar, who are a great German band, and also Kathy from Mum Runner. So just listening to those three ladies sing inspired me to find my own voice in the most natural way that worked, really.
That's great. Yes, and it does work. I'm surprised the Ease EP was your first release. I figured there was some like underground 7-inches that I didn't know about at first because it's such a strong debut. So I'm not surprised that Roadburn heard this and that ended up being your third gig ever.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, and like I said, we've played in a lot of bands before, so I think maybe just the experience that we'd had previously did help us kind of know how to record that first EP. and yeah, how to just make all of the musical parts blend together in the best way possible.
You said you recorded that in your living room?
Yes, that is
Now,
correct.
this really surprises me as well because it sounds like it was not recorded in a living room.
We did have the helping hand from a lot of friends who had decent material, decent recording material. So it was it was a kind of a luxurious home studio situation.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, it was kind of like nice because it was relaxing because you're just at home and there's no pressure. We took our time to do it. That being said, I think we did manage to kind of whip it out in a good week or so, but I could be completely wrong. My memory has deteriorated over the years with everything that's happened. But I just remember not feeling like completely under pressure, knowing that you've paid a studio so much money to get everything done in a really, really short time span, and you cannot mess it up. So definitely, like, being able to record at your own home does give you that more relaxed feel.
Yes, that's the way to go. That's the way to go if you can, especially in the beginning, because you're figuring out your sound, you're figuring out how to do things to a degree. You don't want to walk into a studio for your first EP and spend, I don't know, $10,000. I guess unless you have the money and you really want to.
Yeah, and especially with the idea in my head that it was just a demo.
Yeah.
That was a lot less pressure. But then when it was kind of picked up and everyone was like, oh yeah, just release it for real. It was like, oh, okay. All right, if you say so. But yeah, that being said, I mean, we are very happy with how it turned out. So yeah, we could have probably done it better, but
Impossible. Impossible.
It was good enough for the public. So there you go.
Exactly. So you're all living in Belgium at this point?
We are, yes.
How did you end up there? You grew up in Britain, correct?
Yeah, I grew up in a little town close to Manchester. My dad got offered a job in Belgium when I was 9 years old, so I've been here since then. But always with the idea of it's just going to be like a short-term contract. Like, I think the contracts were 3 years long, and they just extended and extended and extended until I graduated. And then it was like, so all of my friends, I went to a British school. That's where the 3-year contract kind of comes into play, because it wouldn't have made sense if it was just going to be a short period to send me off to a Dutch speaking school or a French speaking school with a completely different curriculum. I graduated from the British school, and I chose all of the wrong courses, like for A levels or whatever, that would like allow you to get into a university in the UK, which is what all of my friends did. So I stuck around in Belgium. Pretty much.
So you said you chose the wrong courses. What did that end up in? Did you what does that mean? Did you not finish school, or was it just not the right courses for you?
It was just a really bad combination of studies. So the British national curriculum forces you to choose. I think it was up to 5 studies, five different subjects, and I chose things that just would not combine to a university, like a certain course in university. So I chose things like drama and maths and English, like and German. So it would have maybe made sense if I'd like wanted to do something with language, but I'm terrible at reading. I actually just wanted to be a body piercer. So I thought, okay, I'll like follow a nursing degree, but because I'd done nothing in sciences, I wouldn't be able to apply for a nursing course in UK universities. And having not done any studies in Dutch, or French. I mean, like having not taken any courses in Dutch or French language, it would have, it was a challenge to like jump into a Belgian university and study nursing. But I did, and I can speak Dutch fluently, but I'd never had to, following the British national curriculum, so it was just a bit daunting. But yeah, anyway, we're here now.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. I did the same thing. All I ever wanted to do was play music or create, or I just wanted to do creative things, but I was too scared to make that leap fully, or I didn't really know how to. I was doing things, but so I went away and I was stuck in this traditional mindset. Like, I have to go to college. I have to get married. I have to do this. I have to do that. So I went away to college and I was taking like economics, which was really stupid because I'm horrible at math and bad with numbers, and I didn't want to do it at all. But I just thought, college, economics, business job. Okay. And then that didn't work out. So I was going to start taking music courses. And then I kind of failed out of college. So I just stopped going. But it's a lot to put on I think a 18, 19-year-old to figure all that out when they don't even know what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you have no experience in life, and like, I think, well, in the British curriculum, it's even at 15 that you sort of have to make the first step in the direction that you want to take for the rest of your life. And it's just too soon, man. Nobody knows what they want to do for the rest of their life at 15.
No.
So, yeah. And then if you have a careers advisor who can't even pronounce your name, then you're completely screwed. But anyway.
Did you ever become a body piercer?
I did not know. I'm also afraid to hurt other people. So yeah, that didn't work out for me. But I do work in pharmaceuticals now. So at least the experience with a nursing course helped me get that far.
That's good. What do you do in pharmaceuticals?
Oh, it's boring. I'm a project manager, so I'm not like all sciencey or anything. But
you're a project manager. I'm a project manager.
Hey,
there you go. So we're going to talk about. Wait, I'm trying to remember. Did you ever get the PMP?
No.
Okay. That's the Project Management Professional Certification. I was going to start throwing some project management language at you, but you know what? We're not here for that.
It's not Monday yet. Don't do this.
Do you work a full-time gig?
I do, on the road as well. So
That's amazing. I've heard of people doing that now. That's so great that you can do that now.
Yeah, I think the years of COVID have proven that you can work remotely. And I'd been doing that. I mean, I'd been working in the van before COVID, even so it wasn't too much of a change for me having to work from home for those 2 years. But yeah, I mean, it's proven that like technology can allow you to work from a tour bus. It's not the most comfortable, but it is possible.
I love that. Yeah, I was fully remote before the shutdown, so I was used to it when it came, and I'm so fully integrated to working at home now that I don't ever want to change. I can't. I won't.
Yeah, same here. At first, I was a bit sad that I wouldn't see my co-workers, but then somebody stole my desk, so I had no choice but to continue working from home. And I am happier because my houseplants are happier. I think they're thriving because of all of the CO2 I breathe out being on all of these ridiculous calls.
Who stole your desk?
Somebody else. Another guy.
How did you find out?
Well, it made sense because they're like, yeah, they needed the space, so it's fine. It's
okay,
fine.
Okay. We'll let that one slide.
Yeah.
So EZP is out. We play Roadburn Festival. Talk about heading into Aurora, the 2018 LP. That's when you first got on my radar. And just how you saw things start to pick up for the band.
Well, so yeah, coming out of the hardcore punk scene, we have always had a very involved work ethic. So I mean, we know we've been in bands long enough to know that nothing nothing comes just like that. So we've always been like hard workers. We've always known that it's important to get out there and play as many shows as possible, get your music to the listener in any way possible, really. And although the internet has opened up the world to musicians, it's also kind of making it a little bit restrictive in the sense that it depends. I mean, the algorithm is what chooses who gets to listen to your music, right? So yeah, we've always like been touring a lot. Ever since Aurora came out, we've just been touring pretty much nonstop. And then the shutdown came, and I think that certainly came at the right time for us, in the sense that it gave us some room to breathe. We would have been heading into 3 back-to-back tours just as the shutdown started. So I think 2 days before the world came to a close, we were supposed to be playing shows in Italy, but yeah, obviously that wasn't going to happen. So we luckily didn't leave on that tour. And then we just saw all of the other countries just one by one sort of cancelling out. So we were like, okay, that's fine. We'll stay home. We'll focus on writing and finishing up the last few details for the Hush album that was released last year, and figuring out how to record that when you couldn't really step outside of your house. So yeah, it was definitely like the right moment for that to happen. We also had to train up a new guitar player. So had we had to combine that with all of the touring that was on the schedule, we would have definitely had a few burnouts.
3 back-to-back tours?
Yep. We are gluttons for pain.
Where were the tours?
I think, so we were just about to head out to Europe with Cult Dreams, all across sort of Eastern Europe. And then we were going to fly out to the west coast of the US to tour with Tenor System, and then come back and do a tour with La Dispute in Europe again. I think we would have had like 4 days off in between those 3 tours. So, and then, yeah, we still needed to finish up like 2 entire songs on Hush. We had like the ideas and structures, but we still needed to kind of finalize and put all of the nice sort of glittery pieces on, and then get ourselves all recording ready. And that was supposed to happen just after coming off that last tour. That was when we were supposed to hit the studio. So that would have just been like way too soon, I think. And we could have done it. I'm pretty sure that we would have made it, but whether it would have been whether it would have been the best for us, that's another story.
Exactly. I mean, it's bad. It was a bad situation for many, but for you, it sounds like it was a blessing in disguise. And it kind of was for me too, because it just changed a lot of things for me, but ultimately for the better.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's it, right? You have to kind of take a silver lining where you can. It was awful. It was mentally sort of distressing for a lot of people, and for us as well, like having to just flip and switch your focus differently, knowing that you would sort of mentally and physically prepared yourself for all of these shows that had just fallen away completely. It's terrifying. But luckily we had a lot of support from our online listeners. We were able to still sell our merch that we had sort of bought en masse to kind of sell at shows. And luckily people were still supportive and bought our stuff online. So we do not have a full basement full of t-shirts and records, which is good.
That is good. Where are you at with it now in terms of the shutdown and everything? How is it over there? For myself, I would say I'm pretty close to back to normal. All the things that I do are back to in person, and I'm doing that now. I'm not even wearing a mask anymore. I said I was going to stop wearing a mask in 2023, but I just kind of stopped recently because I have not gotten the thing yet. And I was just like, you know what? I'm letting go. That's it. Where are you at with the whole thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, well, in the UK, so the first tour that we did when everything opened up again was in the UK, and there they were a lot further ahead in the terms of reopening than we were here in Belgium. So we went into that thinking, oh yeah, we have to be really, really cautious. We have to just be, like masks on whenever we are in a room with anybody other than the four of us band members, and like constant washing of hands until they're red raw. That's how we were preparing ourselves for that tour. But then when we got to the UK and we saw that nobody was masking up anymore and everyone was, there was no social distancing. It was a bit of a shocker, but we all got the dreaded Omicron on our way
Yes.
home, and I mean, yeah, there was no avoiding that. I think it was winter, it was December, everything was indoors. You got your constant sort of like heat blasting inside and then coming out in the cold. So yeah, that's just breeding germs in any case. And then it was completely different to what we were used to back home. But we tried our best. We really, really did. But now, it's like nothing ever happened. So, I mean, the UK was that way in December last year, but now I think we've played so many shows as well that it's like, oh, last year we couldn't do any of this, but it seems like such a distant memory already.
Yeah, even last year, there was still a lot of shutdown stuff going on. Things weren't open. People were still yelling at each other about masks or having events and all that kind of thing. But now it just seems back to normal. It struck me, I live in New York City, so one day I was on the subway and it was completely crowded again. And I was like, wow, we're back.
Yeah, that's did you feel scared the first time that you were in a crowded room? I think it's like it's crazy how you can adapt so quickly, like and like how something can feel so normal because you've just been doing something for 2 years, and then you see your friends again. It's like, oh, how do we do this again?
Exactly. It was a big adjustment period. And yes, I did feel scared because I was involved in some public outdoor things during the pandemic, like January 2021, like during the height of it still. So that was scary. And then I was at Furnace Fest last year. That was kind of scary because it's tons of people. So I was still wearing a mask, but I've made it this far without getting anything. And there's been no mask mandate for a while now. So after a number of months, I just found myself wearing it less. And then eventually I was like, you know what? I'm just letting go. Whatever happens, happens. I have the necessary protection. Everything's good. So I'll live.
Yeah. Congratulations for not having caught it.
Yeah. you know what? I almost feel left out at this point.
It's like when you're a kid and all of your friends have braces and you're the one that hasn't had braces and you're like, Mom, can I have braces already? But no, I do not wish anyone to get ill. But yeah, I think at this point we just have to use common sense and just not be too just like take care of each other. I think that's the most important thing.
Don't do anything stupid and treat other people with respect.
Yeah.
So you said you're writing now you had a new record come out in 2021, Hush, another excellent record. You mentioned that you were writing during the shutdown and you had to make some adjustments as far as how you did things. What did you do? Were you doing some remote sessions and sending files back and forth? What kind of changes did you have to make?
There was that. So we would sort of send ideas back and forth, and we do have we are fortunate enough to have a home studio, so that's how we kind of write music anyway. Like we try to demo stuff as quickly as possible. So once an idea pops up, we would just like run up into the home studio and record it, and then that kind of turns into a sort of working copy to just add layers and layers and layers on top of. So it was just the same process that we would follow otherwise, really. So we were already kind of COVID proof in that sense. But it was just, there was a lot more time to just really, really focus on getting those layers to perfection, and also just learning the parts, each of us, so that when we did hit the studio, that it would just become muscle memory and just become an extension of ourselves, which we wouldn't have had the time to do if we were constantly on the road.
Right. Yeah, I've heard a lot of bands say that. It just allowed them to take a breath and sit down and work on new music or take care of other things. And it sounds like that was the case for you too.
Yep. And I am not sad about that.
You know what? I think it was a much needed break for the world. I think about this a lot. Everyone is like, go in this big hurry, and it's kind of changed the landscape of a lot of things. People don't have to be in the office so much anymore, which I think is a great thing. I think about my life before 2019, having to go into the office 4 to 5 times a week, putting on a suit, getting on the subway. And I'm like, you know what? If I ever had to do that again, I'd have to get into another line of business, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. It has made a lot of people a little bit more climate conscious as well. I mean, the amount of people that bought bikes when the world shut down is crazy, that you can't even get bikes anymore. And yeah, it's just taught people that there are other ways to commute to get your groceries, and it's taught people to appreciate more local things. So yeah, you would go to you would perhaps before lockdown go to the biggest sort of grocery store to try and get all of your goods at once, and now you're getting to know the local markets, or your local greengrocer. So it's been eye-opening for everyone, I think, and that is what the world needed, as you said. Like, it was the time of Greta Thunberg, so that I think it was like the wake-up call that we all needed. Like, you don't have to get on a plane to go to a meeting. You don't have to spend half an hour on a plane to travel to the Netherlands next door, and have all of this. Everyone was just hiking up their carbon footprint so much, and we could just sort of retrace those steps, being able to kind of stay home and think about what is really, really important in life. And do you really need to take the car to get bread from the bakers that you could like easily walk to for less than a 5-minute walk? So yeah, it was great.
I hear you on the environmental thing too. That's one good thing about social media is, I mean, Twitter can be a hellscape, but it has really opened up my eyes to a lot of things going on politically in this country that are not good and all that stuff. I like those memes where it's like, oh, this guy took a private jet across 2 countries for a meeting, but I shouldn't use my plastic bag. And, it's funny, but then you think about it and you're like, wait, yeah, there's much bigger things going on that we don't have control over.
Yeah, absolutely. So and unfortunately, I think we're kind of rolling back into old habits slightly.
Yeah.
I do think like the online meetings and everything that has sort of improved the way that you can work remotely, as we were speaking about earlier, to cut down some of those face-to-face meetings that could easily happen over the phone. So I hope that will stay, but yeah, it is. You can see people sort of unnecessarily taking their car out to go places that they could easily just cycle or walk to again. But silver linings. Let's try and think about the positives. We're not going to go back completely.
No, we can't. We just can't. What's the setup like there in Belgium? In New York City. Have you been here before?
Yeah, we have. We started off our tour there earlier this year, so we hung out in New York for a bit before hitting the road, and been there on vacation a couple of times. So yeah, but I probably don't know it as well as you do.
Yeah, I know my neighborhood pretty good, but I still get lost. I need people to like show me around Manhattan and stuff. But you know how it is here. It's like you can walk everywhere. I don't need a car. I haven't owned a car since 2007. Partly because I didn't have any money, and partly because I live in cities and I just don't need it. So that's good. I like everything being very quick and close by. What's the setup like in Belgium?
I think yeah, you can get out. You can get away with not having a car if you live in the bigger cities. So if you live in Brussels or Antwerp or Ghent, I guess you can do without having a car. But elsewhere, there is public transport. So we do have like a bus system that takes you from sort of little suburbs to the city centre, and we have trains and everything. But it's just it's not as comfortable or reliable. So a lot of people do rely on their cars, but a lot of people also do cycle. So yeah, but cycling is a big thing in Belgium. If you've ever watched the Tour de France, there are a lot of Belgian cyclists. I think a lot of those teams are sort of focusing in Belgium on their trainings and everything. But yeah, so there are other ways to commute.
So we have the newest record out, Hush. We have a lot of great things happening. You've got a run of US dates coming up in September, leading up to Furnace Fest. You've got Furnace Fest. That's going to be exciting. You've got these dates with Deaf Heaven. I mean, are you over the moon right now or what?
Absolutely, yeah. We can't wait to be back in the States. We had a great time. We were there for 2 months earlier this year. That was our first sort of big tour.
Who was that tour with?
With a couple of bands. So we split it up in 3 sections. We did the first stretch with Cathedral Bells. And then we did the middle bit with Deserter, and the last bit with Somme. And yeah, we just had a great time with all of them. It was so much fun. And we did like the full US. We've been everywhere.
I wish I would have known about the Somme slow crush leg of the tour. That sounds incredible.
Yeah, unfortunately we did Brooklyn in the first stretch. So I think, where did we play close to the state? We played Philly. That was our last show with Somme. So that would have probably been closest to you.
Wait, you said you played Brooklyn too?
Yeah, that was the first show of the tour.
Yeah. I see. Yeah. I'm actually from Philly. Originally, yeah. So I have many ties there, but that sounds like some great tours.
Yeah, and I think we're hitting Brooklyn as the first show in the next stretch. So hope to see you there.
Yes, St. Vitus. Have you been there before?
Yes.
Have you played there before?
We have. We played there in 2020 together with good friends from Grievo. And I think that was a sold out gig. So yeah, it will be great to be back.
Yeah, that's my favorite venue. 1, because it's close to home, and 2, it's just the place to play around here. I love it.
Yeah, it definitely has a really great vibe. Yeah, really excited to be back there.
And Furnace Fest. Now, I guess you haven't been to that fest before, have you?
No, I have not, but that is also very exciting. It's like when we were young for kids our age.
Exactly. I went in 2003 because I was on tour with a friend's band. I went again last year. It's fantastic. You're going to absolutely love it. And I'm looking forward to seeing you there as well.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, it'll be, I think it's our first American festival that we're playing. So it'll be good to sort of to sniff up the vibe there and see how it differs from what we're used to back here in Europe. But also just like to see a ton of great bands and to have a load of fun off stage.
It's the only fest I go to now because I like every band on it. I'm not compromising at all. They somehow nailed my taste down to the T.
Yeah, definitely. It's a good lineup.
And it's the most unique festival grounds I've ever seen too, because it's this old decommissioned furnace, and it's just very industrial, and you'll see it's pretty unreal.
That makes a lot of sense now.
Yeah, it's not just a name. There's an actual furnace there.
Okay, I hope it's not turned on though, because it'll be hot.
No, it's not active anymore. If it's anything like last year, it's hot during the day, but kind of cold at night. So good balance.
All right, thank you for prepping me with my packing.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So yes, anyone listening, t-shirt during the day, hoodie or zip up at night. You can thank me later.
We may have some hoodies for sale as well.
Okay, good. I'm gonna keep an eye out for your table. Going back to the early days of the band, you mentioned that you were in university and that you wanted to maybe do body piercing, but you're doing this band as well. At what point did music become the focus?
I mean, it's always been there. But I think up until Slow Crush, it was more just like a hobby sort of thing. And then with Slow Crush, even it became an expensive hobby to start off with. And we're very appreciative of what we've managed to achieve. And it's definitely taken up a huge part of our lives. And I think this is just really like that was the point where we thought, oh, we can maybe do something with music after all. It's not just, we can be taken seriously as a band with this. So I think that's really where the focus sort of became a reality, if you know what I mean.
No, absolutely, because you're working on it as a hobby, but then I think once you perfect the craft and a lot of people start to lock on to what you're doing, it becomes more.
Yeah, that's it. And it is all about like who you interact with, who you can reach as public, and who really does take you seriously. I think that's something that that's a struggle for all musicians, and especially female musicians. It is hard to sort of make yourself heard, and be able to play like the same shows that other bands can. And just like, yeah, just sometimes what gets written about you is completely taken from a different perspective than male musicians, or yeah, I'm not going to get too negative now, but sometimes like I am a person who tends to try and see the best side of people, and sometimes I'm maybe a little bit naive in that sense, thinking that everybody is just a nice person. But then sometimes when you stop and think, it's like, oh, if they're writing that about a female musician, if I was a man, would they do the same thing, sort of thing. So yeah, it is hard to get people to take you seriously. And like when you know that you've put your heart and soul into writing this music and recording and playing shows, and then to not get the same sort of reviews or coverage as other bands who do not have female members in them, it's heartbreaking. So not only for myself but also for my bandmates. So yeah.
Have you experienced that personally, where someone is writing and just focusing on the fact that you're a woman, or maybe you didn't get the same opportunities that men did in terms of booking shows and everything else?
I think all the time, but like I said, I'm I'm naive and I don't really focus on that. I try not to. And that being said, I mean, we've had a lot of opportunities, and I'm very thankful for having played the shows that we have, but sometimes it is just that there is still that double standard, which sucks and makes no sense. And it is always, it is always present in the reviews or in the interviews. Like the main focus is, oh yeah, it's a female fronted band. It's a band with female members, and was that really necessary? Yeah, it seems like a kind of prejudgment, and sometimes people just go into the interviews, or we played a show in New Jersey, and somebody saw me setting up my stuff, and said to Grievo, who were at the merch stand, a female singer? Fuck that shit. It's like, you haven't even heard us play yet, so was that necessary?
Oh my God.
So I mean, yeah, it sucks. And that being said, I don't think it's purely my naivety, but I do feel that I am surrounded by very, very respectful people. So I haven't found myself in situations where I have felt threatened or undermined because I am a woman. Where I do know that other friends of mine, other musician friends of mine, have had much worse experiences. So I'm very grateful that I've never been in any situations like that. But it is very, very heartbreaking to know that in 2022 that shit still goes down. And it's just not necessary. Just, yeah, treat everyone with the same respect.
It's really not that difficult.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just shocked that this guy in Jersey, well, it's a guy from Jersey, so my apologies to our New Jersey listeners, but I can just picture him being like, female vocalist? Ah, fuck that shit. Like,
Yeah.
really? Really still in 2022?
Yeah. It was 2020, but still.
Oh, well, hopefully they've caught up in the last 2 years, but
I hope so too. Well, he sat through the whole set and he managed to get in my way the whole time after the show when I was trying to pack up my shit, but that's fine. We'll let it slide.
It's a shame, really. It's a shame. I always think of I had Serena Cherry from Svalbard on the show a while ago. That's another former Holy Roar band. And she mentioned just some of the horrible things that people say online and just comments focusing on looks and how that affected her. And you know what? It really shouldn't be that way because that same scrutiny is not put on men. You know, they don't say like male fronted band so and so. He doesn't look that good. So we're only going to base the music on that merit.
Yeah, it's as if like, is it as if those people are just trying to find something negative to say because they do like your music, but they are intimidated to say so.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, I understand like critiques. How I mean, yeah, people who write reviews have to critique something, and maybe they get brownie points for doing so. But if it has nothing to do with the music, then it gives no benefit to what you're writing. And I think it's just like cases where people just don't understand what you're trying to get across, and so they try to put something poetic into what they're writing up. And also just people who get kicks out of being negative online. It doesn't add any context or anything. Yeah, it doesn't make your life better, so why do it?
No, and there's two pieces to it. There's the mutants online and comments sections who just say horrible things, and we're going to forget about them completely. But also the editorial column writing, interviewing aspect of it. Like you don't have to point out that it's a female fronted band or that there's a female in the band or focus on that necessarily. Just talk to them as people and discover something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it is just a case where people are scared to sort of to admit that they have a softer side or that they can show emotion. So they have to cover that up by being a dick.
No, it's true. Because even on this show, I like to get personal and talk about things sometimes, but then something kicks in my mind, and I'm like, "No, don't do that. You don't want people to think you're weak," or something like that. I mean, do you have moments like that?
I'd say yes. Unknowingly, probably. But I mean, everyone is self-conscious in some shape or form. Some people more than others, and it is hard to sort of to not take comments personally, like online comments personally, and so it does make. I mean, I hardly ever read my interviews back if I've done one, just because I just hate like I hate hearing my own voice, and so I hate reading what I've said because I know that I've been an idiot at some point. So please don't take offense if I don't listen back to this podcast.
I don't expect anybody to, because I don't. I check the audio files to make sure there's no gaps and I didn't mess up anything, but I'm very self-conscious and I don't want to hear myself.
Yeah, and so I mean that makes it so hard to hear what other people think of you, especially if it has nothing to do with the music or with the intent of what you're trying to say. So yeah.
Was there a point when you did dig into online comments and that kind of thing, and then you just had to stop, or did you just never do it?
I have done it in the past, and I do occasionally still do it. And I try to kind of let it go. Sometimes it's harder. I mean, I think the whole thing, the whole frustration is, would they have said the same thing about a man? That's what really kind of gets to me, and I can be really grumpy for a whole day if something like that is there. And I mean, everyone's entitled to their opinion, but just because you might not like something doesn't mean that you have to spout that all out on the internet, and completely turn somebody else off something if that is their style or their taste in music, just because you're saying that somebody is a woman in a band and they may not have been so elegant on stage, which sometimes I can be, because I'm clumsy. So yeah, it's just people's interpretation can be very different, and the life's too short to be negative. So just try and be nice.
Yes, that's my philosophy as well. I get it. It sometimes I dip my toe in and I have to pull myself out, because I'm going to argue with a bunch of people online. Like this is a different situation, but I posted a reel on Instagram for some separate thing that I do, and it got a ton of views, and then everyone in the comment section was like, "You suck. This was dumb." They just weren't getting what I was doing, and I like hit reply and I start typing, and I'm like, "What are you doing? You like, if you dive into this, you're never going to get out, and you're going to give these people the satisfaction. Pull the ejector seat and get out." And I did, and so I just turn off notifications, and I'm happy to live in ignorant bliss.
Yeah, it's that you just can't give those people fuel to just continue to comment bullshit that makes no sense. So yeah, that's something that I've learned as well. That there's no point in wasting your time and energy on those people. And I think we're talking about it way too much now, because now it just sounds like we get nothing but negative comments, which isn't the case. It's just so hurtful that it is, it's like everything in life. You tend to remember the worst points and completely forget all of the good things. So yeah, we're now just spending too much time and energy on negative stuff, and that's not a good thing.
No, we have to be kind to each other. And you know what, Isa, you keep doing what you're doing, because you're great, and the band is great, and the music is great, and look at all the great stuff that's happening.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we'll continue to do our best and keep writing good stuff. Hopefully everyone likes it.
Please do. All right, so let's recap. Now, we're going to have to come see you at these US dates. They kick off September 16th is the first date at St. Vitus in Brooklyn. So we want to go to those. We have to, right?
Yes, please do come. It'll be great to see a lot of new faces along with old friends who are going to come and hang out with us. And yeah, we'll be there in all our glory with a more compact setup, but sounding just the same as we would back home. And we're very excited to be back.
That's awesome. And that's leading up to Furnace Fest, Sunday, September 25th. That's going to be an event. I can't wait for you to play that, and I can't wait to see you there.
Yeah, absolutely. Come say hi. We will be hanging out most definitely for the whole day. So yeah, I'll be happy to meet you there, Keith.
Absolutely. And you've got this tour coming up with Deaf Heaven. There's some select dates in October. Yes?
Yep, that is correct. So we fly home. We have, I think, 3 or 4 nights in our own beds before heading off with Deaf Heaven. And yeah, we're extremely excited about that tour as well. We've been in touch with the guys for a while. George actually came to our show in Brooklyn. Unfortunately, we didn't get to meet up after the show, but he messaged us afterwards. He really liked our set there. So it'll be great to finally meet them in person and hang out during that tour.
That's amazing. Does that blow your mind? Because Deaf Heaven is like a modern classic in my mind. So if George came to my show and then messaged me afterward and then I was going on this tour, I'd be like, wow, this is great.
Yeah, I actually heard from another interview I did earlier this week that he had been sort of hyping up Slow Crush a couple of years ago even, and that's how the other interviewer got to know us as well, and that was like, oh, okay. That's cool. So yeah, it will be great to just sort of see their set as well every night. I mean, that is the dream, right? To be touring with a band that you enjoy listening to as well. So you know that you're going to have a great night every night.
Absolutely. Well, Isa, this was great. I love the band. I love everything that you're doing. Looking forward to seeing you. So I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show and speak with me.
Thank you very, very much, Keith. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I'll see you in about a month's time.
And there you have it. Isa Holliday. Really great conversation. Really great band. A pleasure to speak to. You know, I discovered that band a while ago. Someone posted a track from their 2018 LP, Aurora. And I think that's really how they got on the map to the greater world, you know, all over the place. It was the song Glow. I remember hearing it. I remember digging it. And, you know, I'm just a lot more into that type of music now, the kind of new shoegaze thing that's happening. I'm digging it. I really dig this band. Got more into their albums. Every album is great. Every album is great. The Easy EP, their debut, great. Aurora, the 2018 LP, great. Hush, last year's new LP, great. Can't recommend it enough. I have some tracks on our New Scene 2022 Spotify playlist. Search playlists in Spotify, you'll see it. It has a white cover and our logo. Can't miss it. And Isa is just such a nice person. Really nice person, you know, and just hearing her experience and how quickly things got started and discovering her voice and just, you know, the third gig ever was Roadburn Fest. I mean, think about that. That's crazy. So it just goes to show you just got to keep trying things until you find your thing. You know, she's out there, she's playing music, she's trying this doomy thing, but it's not exactly working. And she could have easily said, okay, I'm never going to sing again, or I'm never going to do this again. But then they tried this new thing, and that's her thing. She's got a beautiful voice. The band writes such good music. Really happy to have her on the show. Thanks so much, Isa. And I can't wait to see them. I don't know if I'm going to catch the gig at St. Vitus. I might have something going on that day, but I'm definitely going to see them at Furnace Fest. And I can't wait. I can't wait. There's so many great bands playing. I'm really excited to go again and hang out with friends. And speaking of that, you know, I use the show as a barometer for my life in a way, you know, because I record this every single week and put it up. And by the time it goes up, I don't remember what I talked about anymore. Like I forget 95% of what I talked about. So I like to go back a year and listen to the show and figure out where I'm at, what I'm doing, listening to the conversations Tommy and I are having. So, you know, if I'm like complaining about the same thing or fixated on the same thing or something didn't change necessarily, I know, you know, it's a good way to see like, oh, maybe I should change this or maybe I should do this differently because I forget. And even if I'm not going into full detail on the show, if I'm like kind of talking about something, I can remember exactly what was going on. Someone left a nice comment on YouTube about Doug Sablik's episode, which premiered at this time last year. So I went back and listened, and I was complaining about Furnace Fest. The friend I was planning to go with bailed. And I was thinking about not going to the fest, but I ended up going and everything worked out great. And that actually happened again this year, but I kind of sensed that was going to happen. And it doesn't matter because I know plenty of people there. It's going to be good. It's going to be fun. It's fine. And I was just talking about, it's hard to keep up with life versus podcast versus work versus this and that. And I just realized, I was talking about that last year, and that's still my story this year. But I think it's just getting used to easing back into pre-COVID life. I spent 2 years basically mostly indoors, and I struggle anyway with life balance and all that kind of stuff. I have high anxiety. I don't like to be out for long periods of time. I get overwhelmed easily. So it's always a balancing act, taking care of work, taking care of the podcast, making sure I get out and hang out with friends, being in comfortable situations, and, recovery on top of that. Like, I don't like to be around people getting fucked up. I don't like to be in bars for too long. That can trigger a lot of things. There's a lot of stuff. It's a long balancing act, and I keep thinking I'm going to get to some point where everything's going to be okay, but I think this is it. I think this is it. I think it's the full adjustment to life all the time. And you know what? That's okay. So yeah, it's good to listen to the show as like a barometer to see how things are going, where I came from, and where I'm at now. The show helps me remember. It's a living documentation of my life, and I'm happy that I have it for that reason and for many other reasons. So, yeah, getting ready to go to Furnace Fest. That's coming up. A lot of great bands. I just keep thinking about watching Sunny Day Real Estate and Elliot and everyone else I talked about. I can't wait. I really can't wait. Last year was so much fun, and I know this year is going to be just as much fun. I've got some time scheduled off from work. I took 5 full days off from work. I haven't taken any time off in a long time. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Let's see, what else is going on? Okay. Did anyone watch Nintendo Direct? That's like Nintendo's State of the Union address to announce all the games that are coming out and everything that is going on. Now, look, I haven't kept up with Nintendo in a long time, but what is going on over there? Every game that they announced looks like some cartoon, anime, JRPG, or a farming simulator, or a JRPG with farming in it. I don't know. I don't know what is going on. And Pikmin 4? What is Pikmin? Like, they announced it. It's this game where you open up your cell phone and there's digital flowers, and you walk around and you hold your cell phone up to places you walk around and flowers grow, and then your friends can pull out their cell phone and look at your flowers, and you can look at their. Just make a game. Just make a regular video game that is good. What are we doing? What is going on over there? I mean, look, I realize I haven't kept up with Nintendo since Nintendo 64, but I don't know what they're doing, but I guess I'm just not into what they're doing anymore. I mean, everything looks like a cartoon. Plenty of people have recommended Breath of the Wild. Plenty of people speak well about it. But I saw clips from the new Zelda game, and it looks like anime. It looks like an anime kids cartoon game. And I guess I'm just not into it. Like, I see something like Elden Ring, right? And I'm like, this looks cool. This looks like something I want to play. And there's plenty of great game series out there. Elden Ring, God of War, Last of Us. I mean, I guess this is where I'm at. This is where I'm at. This is what I want. Nintendo just all looks like anime, weird kids stuff that I'm not into. I guess there's an audience for it, and I guess that audience is not me. And you know what? That's fine. That's fine. There's plenty of games out there to play. And Call of Duty Next happened, and I was watching a lot of coverage of that. Modern Warfare 2 is coming out in October. You know what? It looks fine. It looks fine. I'm sure the multiplayer will be fine. I will play it. I really don't know about Warzone 2. They've added so much stuff that I don't know. It just seems like it's too much. Like mantling and multiple circles, and the loot crates are like shops now, and new weapon leveling systems, and you can't slide cancel, and with all the new mechanics and with all the new stuff they're adding, proximity chat and the gulag, and you got to team up with someone in the gulag. I don't want to team up with someone in the gulag. I play a lot of solos. I just want to go in there and fight and get out. Look, I'm going to play it because what else am I going to play? Some anime looking JRPG on the Switch? No thanks. I don't want that. So I'll play the next Call of Duty. I'll play Warzone 2. We'll see how it goes. So listen, if you're interested in the gaming stuff, follow me on Twitch. Turn on notifications so you see when I go live. I also have a gaming Instagram, New Scene Gaming, and a gaming YouTube, also New Scene Gaming, where I put content sometimes when I have time. So check it out. But listen, otherwise everything is good. There's going to be more podcasts. There's going to be more great guests. There's going to be more great guest co-hosts. It's all happening. So I'm looking forward to seeing everybody at Furnace Fest. If you see me, say hello. Can't wait to see a lot of great bands. Can't wait to see all of you. So I'm back next week with another brand new episode and a brand new guest. So thanks everybody for listening. And until next time.